All right, well, we're here at the swim start. Well, kind of. We're actually on the other side of the pier of the swim start. But Ryan's getting a practice swimming this morning. I have my maternity swimsuit on. And he took off to do a little practice swim, and I'm just kind of like snorkeling, hanging out with my float. Just pretending like I'm also competing in Ironman World Championship. So maybe one day, probably not, but never say never, right? So we're just here hanging out, getting a practice swim in, and trying to enjoy this little vacation.
It's tough out there. It's tough out there.
How so? Uh-oh.
For starters, it's really a lot of salt water getting in your mouth. And really salty. There are some big swells out there. When you look up the sight, you know, like all you see is the swell. You can't see past the swell, so you gotta wait till you get up on top of the swell to look. There's a pretty good current going out, but it's working against you as you come in, which makes sense with Lucy being out of the turnaround in really fast time, but then being slower on the way back. I have to get on people's feet, or try to find some feet to stay on to help with the navigation, because the navigation's pretty tough. And it's just like chaotic. You know, like your hand's not going in the water at the same point or the same time because the wave, and you know, your head turning left and right to breathe, and sight is just a lot, you know. So, and then on the way back, breathing to my right, looking into the sun, was just literally like looking into a flashlight, super blinding. But I swam, I don't know, maybe a little less than a K, dragging a buoy. So it's doable. It's just gonna be a long day in the water. We just finished swimming a little bitty portion of the swim course, and now we're heading up Palani, which is the famous uphill in the race to get onto, well, we're technically on the bike course, and we're gonna drive out to Javi, which is the turnaround. So big trip up the Queen K Highway, turn around and come back. We made it to the turnaround in Javi, which is like mile 70, 60 something, 70 of the 112 bike course. So now we're heading back into town. I've got a little tire issue on my bike that I've got to try to get fixed, and then as I anticipated with my bike sitting out by the ocean for the last week, there is some rust on the chain, so I got to get the chain changed as well. So anyways, back to Kona from Javi.
All right, You got everything together?
Lord, I hope.
But we got the bike ready to go.
I think so.
Yep, we
This
fixed.
is the moment like you start to second guess everything. Like, do I have this? Do I need that? Did I forget this? What about that over here? So my mind is jumbled. My thoughts are jumbled. It's hotting up, as they say. It's getting ready. It's almost race time.
What are we about to do?
We're going to check my bike in, and you have to check in your T1 bag and your T2 bag, so all my stuff that I'm going to need for the bike and all the stuff that I'm going to need for the run, except for my special needs bags. And like, it's got to get done today. Can't access the bags tomorrow, so I don't know how many more times I can check it to make sure that I've got everything. I'll go put the bike in transition and leave it there overnight, and I'll be able to fill bottles up and stuff like that on it tomorrow morning before getting into the water. But this is it.
How do you feel?
I feel really nervous. I feel really scared. But there's a little bit of like, I think once I get out of the, I think it's like every triathlon, every Ironman I've ever done, it's like once I get out of the water, then I can breathe easy. So I guess it feels like all the others, just magnified maybe. Maybe it feels magnified because I'm in it right now. But I'm looking at the ocean. It's choppy as all get out. Yeah, but hey, it's the Ironman World Championship. It's a big wave. You just gotta ride it.
Do you feel more emotional for this race than the previous Ironmans?
Probably. The emotions are maybe a little bit different. I'm not scared of the. I respect the distance, but I'm not scared of the distance. But I'm a little bit scared of the swim. And I'm scared that I'm gonna forget something. And this is a race where it's so hot, it's so humid, the sun is so bright, the course is so tough that you want to nail it. You want to get everything right. You don't want to forget something. But anyways, logistics are about to be done. We'll drop the bike off and then maybe try to start winding down a little bit. To get ready for bed. We'll see how many minutes of sleep I can get tonight. It's Friday night before the race. Early this morning we went down to the swim start-ish area, did a swim, a little bit of one, and that got me a little nervous, but it'll be okay. Then from there, we got in the Jeep and we drove the bike course out to Javi and back, and that was just crazy. The lava fields that you go through on the way out there, it looks flat on TV, but it is not flat at all. It's just constant up and down, some pretty good climbs, some really fast downhills. There were a few areas where wildlife crossing signs were posted, and we saw some goats on the side of the road. It would be pretty crazy to hit a goat on the bike doing 20-30 miles an hour tomorrow. We also saw a beware crossing for donkeys, wild donkeys on this island that cross at dusk and twilight, or dawn and twilight. That was neat.
Who did we see on the bikes?
Wow, everybody was out biking today, the day before the race. We saw the current Ironman world champion, current Olympic gold medalist, Ironman world champion, or Ironman world record holder. He's like the most decorated athlete currently. Christian Blumenfeld and Gustav Iden, two-time 70.3 world champion, reigning. We saw Tim O'Donnell on the bike. We saw Braden Curry on the bike. We saw Daniel Bagagard on the bike. Everybody was out cycling on the Queen K earlier this morning. That was cool. And then from there, we started to try to get my race day stuff organized. My bike, as I expected, the chain was a little rusty from sitting out near the ocean for the last week. So I had to get a new chain put on, and I had my tube on one of my tires was busting out a little bit, so went and had a new tube put in my rear tire. just all those kind of things that you worry about. You know, you try to mitigate all that you can in terms of flat tires and mechanicals. I mean, at the end of the day, it could happen, but you try to make sure that your equipment is in tip-top shape to reduce the risk of those kinds of events having an impact on your race day. We had lunch at a really neat place on the ocean, more fish sandwiches in Hawaii. That was great. And then we got all the transition area, like T1 bag, T2 bag, all my bike check-in stuff together, went back down to transition and got set up. My bike is down there now. My bike is positioned like at the very end of the pier next to the giant inflatable Gatorade bottle, which is so surreal. I mean, that's a pier that I've studied and a Gatorade bottle that I've just been enamored with ever since I started watching the sport. So to have my bike racked literally right there at the end of the pier next to the giant Gatorade bottle is a bit of a dream come true. With it being Kona, anybody and everybody from the sport is here. We got to meet some of the great legends of the sport. Bob Babbitt, who's the premier media announcer. He was super nice. He asked all about how I was feeling going into the race, wanted to know about us. Just a super nice guy. Then we got to meet the greatest of all time triathlete, Jan Ferdano, 3-time Ironman world champion, literally the most decorated triathlete to ever live. He was also really, really cool. And then we got to meet American Dave Scott, 6-time Ironman world champion, who competed in the Iron War. If you've not heard of the Ironman Iron War, I encourage you to look it up, YouTube it. It was a race that 2 guys raced, just fearlessly, head-to-head, turned themselves inside out, and went toe-to-toe on this brutal course. If you've never seen the Ironman Iron War, it's worth a Google for sure. But it's been so neat to see professionals just all over the place. Again, being giant fans of the sport, and I mean, this is it. This is the Super Bowl. It's why they're here. So looking forward to potentially seeing some of these guys out on the course tomorrow. Obviously, the pros will go off in the swim right in front of me. So I obviously won't have an opportunity to interact with these guys, but to just to be near them, your favorite, pro athletes, is really cool. It's one of my favorite things about this sport, that number one, the pros race alongside the age groupers. So imagine playing football with Tom Brady. And typically, except for in these world championship events, the men and the women race on the same course. And so it's just a really inclusive sport, which makes it a really neat sport. And I don't know. I mean, I'm kind of ready to go home already, but a little bit ready to come back at the same time. So tonight, got to get to bed early and try to get some sleep, because we'll be up around 3:15 a.m. local to start getting ready to take on the Ironman World Championship.
How do you feel?
I was really scared earlier today and really nervous. I'm calming down now as the sun is setting. It's a race course that you got to respect, and I don't exactly know how to do that just yet. I know that I want to take out the swim pretty hard so that I don't get dropped and wind up in no man's land early on. But if I can get out of the water in a decent position and stay away from mechanicals on the bike, then I think I'll have a great day of hurting mighty bad.
You ready?
Yeah, I think I am.